In this video, we're going to show you how to install the brake caliper on your Nissan Murano located behind your rear wheels. With the vehicle raised and supported, so it's going to use our 21mm socket to loosen and remove these lug nuts. Grab the wheel and remove it. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 14mm wrench, and there are two bolts holding our caliper in place. These are 14mm. I'm going to go ahead and spin this bolt out. So I'm going to go ahead and start to spin this out. Now this is a slide pin, and this goes all the way through into our caliper bracket. Now we can't remove this because this is in the way. I'm going to go ahead and break that up one free. All right, going to spin this one out. So what we're going to do is we're now going to focus on the bolts holding the caliper bracket. There's a larger one here, and then there's one down below. We need to go ahead and loosen and remove these, and we're going to remove the caliper and the bracket all as one. Now these bolts are 19mm. I'm going to use a deep socket in my ratchet to go ahead and get up and around this. Let's go ahead and break this free. Now I'm not going to remove this. I do want it there to stabilize the unit. On the bottom side here, we're going to use our 19mm box end wrench. And we're just going to continue to loosen this and remove that bolt. And you probably get this to a point we can go ahead and grab the bolt and continue to spin it out. Remove that with the washer. Now that we have the lower bolt out, we can go ahead and remove the upper bolt. I'm going to support the caliper and the bracket together. Pull that bolt out. Now that we have those two bolts out, wiggle that caliper off. Now it's always best when you're doing a caliper and bracket, you want to go ahead and replace the brake pads. If your brake pads are in still good usable condition, you can reuse them, but once again, it's not always recommended. Remove those. And let's set this up on the top here. Now that we have our brake pads removed, to make this a little bit easier to handle, we're simply going to slide the bracket off, leaving us just the caliper itself. Now before we install our new caliper and bracket, we do want to go ahead and take precautionary measures. Make sure that our slide pins are properly lubricated. Now for this particular model, you do not have to remove the slide pins. All you have to do is set up the bracket, push on the caliper itself, and you do want to separate the rubber boots from the pins, popping those off, and simply slide this off. You can see this does have some grease on there. What we're going to do is we do want to go ahead and make sure there is sufficient. You can see if we move some of that grease around, it's still not covering the pins completely. We also don't want big globs of grease on here, but we do want to make sure that it is coated. Do the same for this one here. Next thing we want to do is go ahead and take your caliper bracket. Go ahead and take your caliper bracket, and we're going to apply a little bit of grease here. Just smear that around a little bit. We don't want globs of it. We just want a thin coat. Wipe off the excess off the glove. Go ahead and take your slides. Line that up. Want to push these down. Going to repeat this process for the other side. Do you want to make sure that these are fully seated? Now that we have our slides installed, let's now go ahead and remove the caliper. Now we have this ready to go. We're going to use a 12mm socket here. We do have a catch can underneath. Fluid is going to come out of both of these here. So you want to make sure that you have a bucket underneath or some rags or something. Safety glasses and gloves, very important. Remove the bolt. It's going to be a copper washer, could be on the bolt itself, but ours is stuck there. Wiggle this off. Now we do want to go ahead and remove the washers here. Here's one. And the other one is already gone. It's probably on the other side of our caliper. I'm going to take the new supplied bolt, copper washer, going to feed this through. Install the second copper washer there. Line this up. I'm going to get that bolt started. Now this here is an 11 millimeter bolt. You do want to make sure that this tab is locked in there and tighten this down. We are going to grab some spray solvent and clean up all of that residual brake fluid off of this unit. We do want to make sure that this is cleaned. Brake fluid is corrosive and it's also messy. And I'm just going to set this aside for now. So we did lose a little bit of grease off our slide pins by handling it and rinsing it off. So we're going to reapply. Remember, thin coat, wipe off the excess. Slide this together. Okay, go ahead and grab your brake pads. The inboard pad gets the squeak tab. Okay, get your inboard pad installed. Go ahead and get the outboard pad installed. Perfect, that's what we want. All right, now that we have both pads installed, go ahead and slide the caliper over the brake rotor. Position that. And go ahead and get our back bolts on. Go ahead and get our bolt started here. I'm going to thread that in as far as I can by hand. And we'll go ahead and get that lower bolt started. Go ahead and get our lower bolt lined up here. All right, let's go ahead and run that bolt in. Once we bottom this out, we'll go ahead and torque it down to 62 foot-pounds. Now that we torque down here, we do want to go ahead and double check the torque spec on this bolt here. It should be 32 foot-pounds. Perfect. Now let's go ahead up top and repeat up there. Go ahead and torque down our caliper bolt to 32. Let's go ahead and finish tightening down this upper bolt and we'll torque that down. Let's go ahead and torque down our banjo bolt here to 14 foot-pounds. After you torque there, go ahead and spray it down with a spray solvent. Clean up any residual brake fluid here. Let's now go ahead and proceed to the brake bleeding process. This is going to be a gravity bleed. We're going to remove this rubber cap. We'll go ahead and loosen this here. Now we do have a bucket underneath here to catch any residual brake fluid coming out of here. When we open this up, we're going to go ahead and watch for any of the air bubbles coming out, and we want to look for a solid stream of fluid coming out, and then we'll tighten it down from there. I'm going to go ahead and use our 8mm socket on our ratchet, and it could take a few minutes for that fluid to come through, fill up behind the piston, and start to come out. Now it does look like we have a solid, steady stream here coming out. No air bubbles. So let's go ahead and close this up. And we'll snug that down gently. Spray it down with some solvent. Now what you want to do is you want to hop into the vehicle, pump up the brakes, and you want a firm pedal. For any reason, if the pedal feels mushy, you want to come on back here and continue this process. It could be 2 to 3 times to go ahead and burp out any of the air that's in the system. If you still can't get a firm pedal, you then want to proceed to the full brake bleeding process for this vehicle. Grab your wheel, get that set up onto the studs. Now I want to go ahead and start all of the lug nuts by hand. That's going to help prevent cross-threading. Once we get all these installed, we go ahead and snug them down. And let's go ahead and snug them down. Now let's go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds. Now when doing this here, it's best to do this in a crisscross or star pattern. Now with the hood open, go ahead and locate your master cylinder reservoir here. Before we even open that up, you do want to put on some safety glasses and wear some gloves when doing this. I'm going to go ahead and spray this down with some spray solvent and clean this up. I want to make sure when we open this up, we don't get any dirt or debris inside the reservoir. I'm going to grab a little container and put that on the side. I'm going to open this up, and we want to go ahead and remove or evacuate what we have for brake fluid in there. Now on our particular vehicle, the fluid level is extremely low, but we're going to use a vacuum tool like this here. If you have something like this, you can use a turkey baster as well. Inside here, you may find a little screen or a filter. Go ahead and pop that out, set that aside. Put this down there if you can, and remove. Once you have that evacuated, go ahead and grab the proper brake fluid recommended for the vehicle. And want to go ahead and top this off. It's always ideal if you can clean the screen as well. Make sure that's all cleaned up and as dry as possible. Drop that down inside, and then we're going to fill it up. Now during the brake bleeding process, it's okay to go ahead and overfill this on the first run through. In the end, we do want to make sure that you fill it to the full line. Go ahead and grab that cap and seal it up. Now here we are, we're starting at the right rear of the vehicle, and it's going to be a procedure. You can follow along on the screen there. We're going to be doing the right rear. We're then going to go to the left front. After that, we're going to top off the reservoir and then go to the driver's side rear, which is the left rear, and ending at the right front. After that, we're going to top off the reservoir again. Now we have someone inside the vehicle that's going to help us up by pumping up the brakes, and they're going to follow our instruction. Right here is going to be the bleeder screw on your caliper. There's a rubber cap. If you don't have the rubber cap, it's not detrimental to the operation of the brakes. The bleeder screw here is an 8mm. You could also use a 5/16. It's recommended that you spray this down with some rust penetrant before doing this job so you can go ahead and loosen these. We also have a reservoir here to capture the fluid. What we're going to do is set this up. I'm going to go ahead and have the person inside the vehicle pump up the brakes. They're going to pump it up about 3 to 4 times and hold pressure while we do this. We're going to crack this open. You can watch the fluid come out. Now the pedal goes to the floor on the inside. They let us know. We close this up. Go ahead and pump it up again. And we're going to repeat this process until we can get all the air bubbles and preferably clear fluid coming through. Okay, you can go ahead and pump up the brake and release it after when you're done. Go ahead and carefully remove that. Make sure that that bleeder screw is snug. If you dribbled some of that brake fluid there, go ahead and use some spray solvent. Clean that, wipe it down. Brake fluid is corrosive, so you want to make sure that you don't leave any of that laying around there. And if you have the rubber cap, go ahead and pop that on. Let's now go ahead and move to the left front. Now we did go ahead and have the person inside the vehicle crank out our wheel. It does give us better access here. Once again, we're going to go ahead and remove that rubber cap. This here is a 10 millimeter, not the 8 that we had in the rear. Install our port. And go ahead and have them pump up the brakes. Go ahead. You can see the air bubbles coming through, and that's exactly what we're looking to do, is purge out any of the air as well as dirty fluid. Go ahead. And one more. All right, go ahead and pump them up, and you can release. Go ahead and spray this down. Now at this point here, before we jump to that left rear, you want to go ahead and go underneath the hood and top off that master cylinder reservoir. And then we can continue with the left rear and closing with the right front. Now let's get and top off the master cylinder reservoir. Open up the cap. Go ahead and fill that up to the full mark. Seal it up. Let's now go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.